ដើម្បីទទួលបានព័ត៌មានភ្លាមៗលោកអ្នកគ្រាន់តែជួយចុច like ហើយចុច subscribe បន្ទាប់មកចុចលើរូបកណ្ដឹងហើយចុចលើពាក្យថា all
រដ្ឋាភិបាលម៉ាឡេស៊ីបានដោះលែងអ្នកស្រីមូសុកហួរនិងសកម្មជន2នាក់ទៀតរដ្ឋាភិបាលប្រទេសស៊ីបឬ Cyprus បានសម្រេចដកសេចក្ដីពីបរទេសចំនួនជិត30នាក់រួមទាំងជនជាតិកម្ពុជា8នាក់ផងសាលាអូតូសម្រេចដោះលែងលោកថោងសារ៉ាត់និងបកពួក3នាក់ទៀតឲ្យនៅក្រៅឃុំបណ្ដោះអាសន្នលោកហ៊ុនសែនប្រកាសថាកម្ពុជានឹងជួបវិបត្តិខ្វះអគ្គិសនីប្រើប្រាស់ជាថ្មីទៀតអ្នកទស្សនយោបាយម្នាក់នៅម៉ាឡេស៊ីនឹងក្លាយជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីរួមនឹងព័ត៌មានផ្សេងៗមួយចំនួនទៀតតទៅនេះខ្ញុំបាទហាសានសូមជូនព័ត៌មានពិស្ដារហូតមកទល់ពេលនេះអាជ្ញាធរម៉ាឡេស៊ីបានដោះលែងអ្នកស្រីមូសុកហួរនិងអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យចូលទឹកដីម៉ាឡេស៊ីបានធម្មតាចំណែកសកម្មជនបកប្រឆាំង2នាក់ទៀតក៏ត្រូវបានដោះលែងនិងអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យចូលទឹកដីប្រទេសម៉ាឡេស៊ីតាមធម្មតាដែរកាលពីប្រមាណម៉ោងមុនកន្លងទៅនេះរដ្ឋាភិបាលប្រទេសម៉ាឡេស៊ីបានអះអាងថាខ្លួនកំពុងពិភាក្សារកប្រទេសផ្សេងឬប្រទេសទី3ក្នុងការបញ្ជូនអនុប្រធានគណៈបកសង្គ្រោះជាតិអ្នកស្រីមូសុកហួរចេញឲ្យផុតពីប្រទេសរបស់ខ្លួនការលើកឡើងនេះក្រោយពេលសមត្ថកិច្ចអន្តរប្រវេសន៍ម៉ាឡេស៊ីបានឃាត់ខ្លួនអនុប្រធានគណៈបកសង្គ្រោះជាតិរូបនេះកាលពីយប់ម្សិលមិញនៅព្រលានយន្តហោះកូឡាលំពួរទីភ្នាក់ងារព័ត៌មាន Reuters បានឲ្យដឹងនៅថ្ងៃនេះដោយស្រង់សម្ដីរបស់នាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីម៉ាឡេស៊ីលោកបណ្ឌិតម៉ាហាធីម៉ូហាម៉ាត់ដែលបានប្រាប់ក្រុមអ្នកយកព័ត៌មាននៅថ្ងៃនេះដែរថាម៉ាឡេស៊ីកំពុងស្វែងរកប្រទេសទី3ក្នុងការបញ្ជូនមេដឹកនាំគណៈបកប្រឆាំងអ្នកស្រីមូសុកហួរចេញពីប្រទេសរបស់ខ្លួនប្រពន្ធដដែលឲ្យដឹងទៀតថាលោកម៉ាហាធីបាននិយាយសម្ដៅដល់កិច្ចសហប្រតិបត្តិការនិងគោលការណ៍របស់អាស៊ានគឺមិនអាចជ្រៀតជ្រែកកិច្ចការផ្ទៃក្នុងរបស់ប្រទេសដទៃទៀតនោះឡើយដូច្នេះលោកមិនចង់ឲ្យថ្នាក់ដឹកនាំក្រុមបកប្រឆាំងប្រើប្រាស់ទឹកដីរបស់ម៉ាឡេស៊ីជាមូលដ្ឋានសម្រាប់ការតស៊ូឬប្រឆាំងប្រទេសដទៃទៀតនោះឡើយលោកថាម៉ាឡេស៊ីចង់បណ្ដេញអ្នកស្រីមូសុកហួរចេញភ្លាមៗតែម្ដងប៉ុន្តែរដ្ឋាភិបាលប្រទេសនេះកំពុងព្យាយាមស្វែងរកប្រទេសណាដែលអាចទទួលយកអ្នកស្រីបានជាមុនសិនអាជ្ញាធរអន្តរប្រវេសន៍ម៉ាឡេស៊ីបានឃាត់ខ្លួនអ្នកស្រីមូសុកហួរបន្ទាប់ពីរដ្ឋាភិបាលលោកហ៊ុនសែនបានស្វែងរកចាប់ខ្លួនអ្នកស្រីនិងមន្ត្រីជាន់ខ្ពស់គណៈបកសង្គ្រោះជាតិផ្សេងទៀតក្រោមហេតុផលថាថ្នាក់ដឹកនាំបកប្រឆាំងដែលមានប្រទេសខ្លួនកំពុងរៀបចំផែនការធ្វើរដ្ឋប្រហាររដ្ឋាភិបាលក្រោមផែនការនៃការវិលត្រឡប់ទៅស្រុកកំណើតវិញអ្នកស្រីមូសុកហួរត្រូវបានចាប់ខ្លួនក្រោយពេលអ្នកស្រីបានចេញដំណើរពីប្រទេសឥណ្ឌូនេស៊ីឆ្ពោះមកប្រទេសម៉ាឡេស៊ីក្នុងគោលបំណងជួបមន្ត្រីជាន់ខ្ពស់របស់ប្រទេសនេះនិងក្រុមសង្គមស៊ីវិលផងដើម្បីស្វែងរកការគាំទ្រដល់ដំណើរមាតុភូមិនិវត្តន៍របស់ថ្នាក់ដឹកនាំគណៈបកសង្គ្រោះជាតិចូលមកប្រទេសកម្ពុជានៅថ្ងៃទី9វិច្ឆិកាខាងមុខនេះរដ្ឋាភិបាលប្រទេស Cyprus ឬហៅថាប្រទេសស៊ីបអះអាងថាខ្លួនបានចាប់ផ្ដើមលុបចោលលិខិតឆ្លងដែននិងដកសញ្ជាតិស៊ីព្រៀតជនជាតិស៊ីបសម្រាប់ជនបរទេសចំនួន26នាក់ដែលពួកគេទទួលបានសញ្ជាតិសាយព្រៀតក្រោមកម្មវិធីវិនិយោគរាប់លានដុល្លារនៅក្នុងប្រទេសមួយនេះសារព័ត៌មាន The Guardian ដែលចេញផ្សាយកាលពីម្សិលមិញដោយស្រង់សម្ដីរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីក្រសួងមហាផ្ទៃនៃប្រទេស Cyprus លោក Konstantin Petrides ថាគណៈរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនៃប្រទេសនេះនឹងកំពុងដាក់ចេញនៅដំណើរការដកហូតសញ្ជាតិពីជនបរទេសសរុប6នាក់ចំនួន26នាក់ជនបរទេសទាំង26នាក់នឹងត្រូវបាត់បង់សញ្ជាតិសាយព្រៀតព្រោះមានជនដូចជាជនជាតិចិន5នាក់រុស្ស៊ី9នាក់កម្ពុជា8នាក់ម៉ាឡេស៊ី1នាក់អ៊ីរ៉ង់1នាក់និងកេនយ៉ា2នាក់ប៉ុន្តែមន្ត្រីរដ្ឋាភិបាលប្រទេសនេះមិនបានបញ្ជាក់ឈ្មោះពួកអ្នកទាំងនោះទេជាពិសេសជនជាតិកម្ពុជាទាំង8នាក់នោះឡើយការសម្រេចចាត់វិធានការលុបចោលលិខិតឆ្លងដែននិងដកសញ្ជាតិសាយព្រៀតនេះធ្វើឡើងក្រោយពេលមានសេចក្តីរាយការណ៍នានាដោយបង្ហាញរឿងរ៉ាវអាស្រូវរបស់ខ្លួនថារដ្ឋាភិបាលប្រទេសនេះបានលក់សញ្ជាតិនិងលិខិតឆ្លងដែនឲ្យជនបរទេសសរុបជិត2000នាក់ឬស្មើនឹងជិត2000សញ្ជាតិក្នុងនោះក៏មានសាច់ញាតិនិងមន្ត្រីជាន់ខ្ពស់របស់លោកហ៊ុនសែនផងដែរក្នុងតម្លៃនៃការបោះទុនវិនិយោគនៅប្រទេសតំបន់អឺរ៉ុបមួយនេះជិត$3លានអាមេរិកសម្រាប់បុគ្គលម្នាក់ៗកាលពីថ្ងៃទី16ខែតុលាទីភ្នាក់ងារព័ត៌មាន Reuters បានចុះផ្សាយថាសាច់ញាតិនិងមន្ត្រីជាន់ខ្ពស់បកកាន់អំណាចមួយចំនួនដែលជិតស្និទ្ធនឹងលោកហ៊ុនសែនបានចំណាយលុយរាប់លាន$សហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកដើម្បីទិញសញ្ជាតិរបស់ប្រទេស Cyprus ទាំងនោះរួមមានក្មួយស្រីបង្កើតលោកហ៊ុនសែនដែលជាកូនបង្កើតរបស់លោកហ៊ុនម៉េងបងបង្កើតរបស់លោកហ៊ុនសែនគឺអ្នកស្រីហ៊ុនកឹមលេងនិងស្វាមីរបស់អ្នកស្រីគឺលោកឧត្តមសេនីយ៍ នាថ សវឿនអគ្គស្នងការនគរបាលជាតិព្រមទាំងកូនស្រី2នាក់ទៀត គ ពួកគេទាំង4រូបបានស្នើសុំសញ្ជាតិពីប្រទេស Cyprus កាលពីឆ្នាំ2016ហើយអ្នកស្រីហ៊ុនកំលែងក៏បានទទួលសញ្ជាតិប្រទេសនេះរួចហើយដែរកាលពីឆ្នាំ2016ទីភ្នាក់ងារព័ត៌មាន Reuters ឲ្យដឹងទៀតថាអ្នកជំនួញដ៏ល្បីល្បាញពាក់ព័ន្ធនឹងការរំលោភដីធ្លីរបស់ពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរនិងរំលោភដីឆ្នេរសមុទ្រផងនោះគឺអ្នកស្រីជឹងសុភាពហៅយីភូដែលមានជាមនុស្សជិតស្និទ្ធនឹងអ្នកស្រីប៊ុនរ៉ានីហ៊ុនសែនព្រមទាំងស្វាមីរបស់យីភូលោកឡៅមីងខិនដែលជាសមាជិកព្រឹទ្ធសភាពីគណៈបកប្រជាជនកម្ពុជារួមនឹងសមាជិកគ្រួសារ5នាក់ទៀតបានស្នើសុំសញ្ជាតិពីប្រទេស Cyprus ក្នុងឆ្នាំ2016និង2017ប៉ុន្តែមានតែយីភូម្នាក់ប៉ុណ្ណោះដែលទទួលបានសញ្ជាតិពីប្រទេស Cyprus កាលពីឆ្នាំ2017បន្ទាប់ពីវិនិយោគទុនលុយជាង$2 លានសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកលើសណ្ឋាគារមួយឈ្មោះថា Radisson Blu នៅទីនោះក្រៅពីនេះឧបនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនិងជារដ្ឋមន្ត្រីក្រសួងសេដ្ឋកិច្ចនិងហិរញ្ញវត្ថុលោកអូនប៉ាន់មនីរតនិងភរិយារបស់ខ្លួនអ្នកស្រីអឹមប៉ូលីកាក៏បានស្នើសុំសញ្ជាតិ Cypriot ក្នុងឆ្នាំ2017ហើយរដ្ឋាភិបាល Cyprus ក៏បានផ្ដល់សញ្ជាតិឲ្យអ្នកស្រីប៉ូលីការួចហើយក្នុងឆ្នាំនោះដដែលបាទលោកនាងអាចស្វែងរកព័ត៌មានរបស់សារព័ត៌មាន The Cambodia Daily ជាភាសាខ្មែរដែលបានផ្សាយនៅលើ Facebook រួចមកហើយបានដោយចូលទៅកាន់គេហទំព័ររបស់យើងតាមអាសយដ្ឋាន khmer.cambodiadaily.com សម្រាប់ភាសាអង់គ្លេសតាមអាសយដ្ឋាន cambodiadaily.com ប្រសិនបើលោកនាងមានបំណងជួយទ្រទ្រង់ដល់កម្មវិធីផ្សាយរបស់យើងលោកនាងអាចចូលទៅកាន់អាសយដ្ឋាន khmer.cambodiadaily.com/donate សាលាអូតូបានសម្រេចដោះលែងអង្គញាថោងសារ៉ាត់និងបកពួកចំនួន3នាក់ទៀតឲ្យនៅក្រៅឃុំជាបណ្ដោះអាសន្នលើកលែងតែឈ្មោះសៀងវាសនាដែលជាជនដៃដល់បន្តស្ថិតនៅជាប់ឃុំនៅឡើយអ្នកទាំង5នាក់នេះត្រូវបានតុលាការកាត់ទោសឲ្យជាប់ពន្ធនាគារអស់មួយជីវិតក្នុងសំណុំរឿងសម្លាប់អង្គញាអឹងមេងជឺកាលពីចុងឆ្នាំ2014សេចក្តីប្រកាសព័ត៌មានរបស់អ្នកនាំពាក្យសាលាអូតូកាលពីថ្ងៃម្សិលមិញឲ្យដឹងថាជនជាប់ចោទដែលត្រូវដោះលែងឲ្យនៅក្រៅឃុំជាបណ្ដោះអាសន្នចំនួន4នាក់នោះមានអង្គញាថោងសារ៉ាត់លោកហួយច័ន្ទថុលលោកមាសសម្បត្តិហៅទូចនិងឈ្មោះខុនចត្រាប៉ុន្តែពួកគេត្រូវដាក់ឲ្យស្ថិតនៅក្រោមការត្រួតពិនិត្យរបស់តុលាការសេចក្តីប្រកាសព័ត៌មាននេះបញ្ជាក់ថាការសម្រេចដោះលែងឲ្យជនជាប់ចោទទាំង4នាក់នៅក្រៅឃុំដោយសារសំណុំរឿងនេះមានលក្ខណៈស្មុគស្មាញនិងពុំមានការចាំបាច់ណាមួយក្នុងការបន្តឃុំខ្លួនពួកគេនោះឡើយលើសពីនេះទៅទៀតក្នុងចំណោមជនជាប់ចោទទាំង4នាក់ក៏មានជនជាប់ចោទដែលមានសុខភាពទ្រុឌទ្រោមក៏បីមានភាពងាយស្រួលក្នុងការថែទាំព្យាបាលជំងឺហើយពេទ្យជំនាញឯកទេសផងដែរកាលពីថ្ងៃទី26ខែមីនាឆ្នាំ2019នេះលោកថោងសារ៉ាត់និងបកពួកចំនួន4នាក់ត្រូវបានសាលាដំបងរាជធានីភ្នំពេញប្រកាសសាលក្រមផ្ដន្ទាទោសដាក់ពន្ធនាគារអស់មួយជីវិតពាក់ព័ន្ធនឹងករណីឃាតកម្មសម្លាប់អង្គញាអឹងមេងជឺដែលប្រព្រឹត្តទៅកាលពីថ្ងៃទី22ខែវិច្ឆិកាឆ្នាំ2014នៅកណ្ដាលរាជធានីភ្នំពេញពួកគេទាំង5នាក់នេះត្រូវបានតុលាការចោទប្រកាន់ពីបទផ្ដើមគំនិតក្នុងអំពើឃាតកម្មគិតទុកជាមុននិងបទសំគំនិតក្នុងអំពើឃាតកម្មគិតទុកជាមុនទោះជាយ៉ាងណាក៏ដោយចុះក្នុងពេលជាប់ឃុំមានសេចក្តីរាយការណ៍ជាច្រើនថាលោកថោងសារ៉ាត់មានតែឈ្មោះជាប់ឃុំក្នុងពន្ធនាគារតែប៉ុណ្ណោះប៉ុន្តែធៀបពិតជនជាប់ចោទរូបនេះបានមកស្នាក់នៅក្នុងមន្ទីរពេទ្យច្រើនជាងនៅជាប់ឃុំក្នុងគុកការដោះលែងលោកថោងសារ៉ាត់និងបកពួកឲ្យនៅក្រៅឃុំពេលនេះត្រូវបានសាធារណជនរិះគន់ថាសំណុំរឿងឃាតកម្មសម្រាប់មនុស្សបែរជាតុលាការអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យនៅក្រៅឃុំបានប៉ុន្តែសម្រាប់សំណុំរឿងសកម្មជនដីធ្លីសកម្មជនបរិស្ថានឬសកម្មជនរិះគន់រដ្ឋាភិបាលដូចជាករណីលោកគង់រាយាលោកសួងនៀកពាន់លោករតមនីនិងសំណុំរឿងអតីតបកប្រឆាំងផ្សេងទៀតដោយមិនមែនជាបទអក្រិតផងប៉ុន្តែតុលាការមិនអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យពួកគាត់នៅក្រៅឃុំជាដាច់ខាតទោះបីជាពួកគេខ្លះមានជំងឺធ្ងន់ធ្ងរនិងមានបញ្ហាប្រឈមក្នុងគ្រួសារយ៉ាងណាក៏ដោយការអនុវត្តច្បាប់របស់តុលាការបែបនេះត្រូវបានខាងអង្គការសង្គមស៊ីវិលចាត់ទុកថាជាការអនុវត្តច្បាប់ដែលមានស្តង់ដារ2ដដែលលោកនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីហ៊ុនសែនបានប្រកាសថាចាប់ពីពេលនេះរហូតខែឧសភាកម្ពុជានឹងជួបវិបត្តិខ្វះភ្លើងអគ្គិសនីប្រើប្រាស់ជាថ្មីទៀតថ្លែងក្នុងពិធីប្រកាសការប្រើប្រាស់ផែនការអភិវឌ្ឍជាតិឆ្នាំ2019-2023នៅព្រឹកនេះលោកហ៊ុនសែនបានស្នើសុំដល់ពលរដ្ឋមានការយោគយល់ព្រោះថាចាប់ពីពេលនេះរហូតដល់ខែឧសភាឆ្នាំក្រោយកម្ពុជាប្រឈមនឹងបញ្ហាខ្វះអគ្គិសនីប្រើប្រាស់ដោយកាលពីខែប្រាំងឆ្នាំនេះលោកបញ្ជាក់ថា មូលហេតុកម្ពុជាត្រូវជួបវិបត្តិភ្លើងអគ្គិសនីព្រោះស្ថានភាពទឹកមិនមានគ្រប់គ្រាន់ដើម្បីផលិតថាមពលវារីអគ្គិសនីក្រៅពីសុំការយោគយល់ពីពលរដ្ឋលោកហ៊ុនសែនក៏ស្នើឲ្យម្ចាស់សន្តាគារមានការយោគយល់ដោយរដ្ឋនឹងត្រូវកាត់ផ្តាច់បណ្ដាញភ្លើងដែលពួកគាត់តភ្ជាប់ហើយពួកគេត្រូវប្រើម៉ាស៊ីនភ្លើងផ្ទាល់ខ្លួនសិនទម្រាំរដ្ឋមានថាមពលអគ្គិសនីផ្គត់ផ្គង់គ្រប់គ្រាន់ឡើងវិញលោកនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីបានអះអាងថាកម្ពុជាមានលទ្ធភាពផ្គត់ផ្គង់ភ្លើងបាន1328មេហ្គាវ៉ាត់តែបច្ចុប្បន្ននេះកម្ពុជាអាចផលិតភ្លើងបានចន្លោះតែពី180មេហ្គាវ៉ាត់ដល់687មេហ្គាវ៉ាត់ប៉ុណ្ណោះដោយសារទឹកតិចពេកស្ថាបនិកអង្គការចលនាមេដាធម្មជាតិលោក Alejandro Davidson ធ្លាប់លើកឡើងថារដ្ឋាភិបាលលោកហ៊ុនសែនមិនអាចដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាខ្វះភ្លើងនិងខ្វះអគ្គិសនីប្រើប្រាស់សម្រាប់ពលរដ្ឋកម្ពុជាបានឡើយដរាបណារដ្ឋាភិបាលមួយនេះមិនព្រមទទួលយកមតិរិះគន់ឬយោបល់ពីភាគីពាក់ព័ន្ធពិសេសខាងអង្គការសង្គមស៊ីវិលអ្នកជំនាញនិងមន្ត្រីបកប្រឆាំងផងនោះនៅរដូវប្រាំងឆ្នាំនេះពលរដ្ឋកម្ពុជាទាំងនៅជនបទទាំងនៅទីក្រុងប្រឈមនឹងការខ្វះភ្លើងអគ្គិសនីប្រើប្រាស់ហើយតំបន់ខ្លះទៀតប្រឈមកង្វះទឹកប្រើប្រាស់ជាខ្លាំងទៀតផងបញ្ហាប្រឈមទាំងនេះត្រូវបានសាធារណជនរិះគន់ថាក្រោមការដឹកនាំដ៏វៃឆ្លាតរបស់លោកហ៊ុនសែនជាង30ឆ្នាំមកនេះនៅមិនទាន់មានដំណោះស្រាយបញ្ហាទឹកភ្លើងឲ្យបានត្រឹមត្រូវនៅឡើយទេប៉ុន្តែរដ្ឋាភិបាលវិញតែងតែអួតក្តែងអំពីករណីកំណើនសេដ្ឋកិច្ចរបស់ខ្លួនព្រមទាំងសមិទ្ធផលរបស់ពួកគេដោយប្រដូចសម័យនេះម្ដងហើយម្ដងទៀតទៅនឹងសម័យខ្មែរក្រហមបាទលោកនាយកជាទីមេត្រីតទៅនេះសូមជូនព័ត៌មានអន្តរជាតិលោកមហាធីមហាម៉ាត់នាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីប្រទេសម៉ាឡេស៊ីបានអះអាងជាថ្មីម្ដងទៀតថាលោកនឹងផ្ទេរតំណែងនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីជូនទៅអតីតមេបកប្រឆាំងឈ្មោះអាន់វ៉ាអ៊ីប្រាហ៊ីមតាមការសន្យារបស់លោកដែលបានធ្វើឡើងអំឡុងពេលលោកឃោសនាបោះឆ្នោតសភាកាលពីខែឧសភាឆ្នាំ2018លោកអាន់វ៉ាអ៊ីប្រាហ៊ីមធ្លាប់ជាប់ពន្ធនាគារចំនួន2ដងមកហើយដែលម្ដងមានរយៈកាល5ឆ្នាំចុងក្រោយលោកអាន់វ៉ាត្រូវកាត់ឲ្យជាប់ទោសម្ដងទៀតក្នុងសំណុំរឿងដដែលគឺការស្រឡាញ់ភេទដូចគ្នាកាលលោកជារដ្ឋមន្ត្រីក្រសួងសេដ្ឋកិច្ចលោកជាប់ទោសដោយករណីនេះគឺឆ្នាំ2013និងដល់ឆ្នាំ2018បើដូចនេះមែនគឺលោកអាន់វ៉ានឹងក្លាយជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីថ្មីនៃប្រទេសម៉ាឡេស៊ីដែលជាអ្នកទោសនយោបាយសម័យលោកណៃជីបរ៉ាហ្សាក់ដែលកំពុងជាប់ចោទក្រោមបទចោទ21ករណីក្នុងនោះមានទាំងអំពើពុករលួយនិងបំពានអំណាចរដ្ឋឋានៈលោកជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីសារព័ត៌មាន Malaysia The Star Online បានចុះផ្សាយថាលោកមហាធីបានបញ្ជាក់ដោយនេះបន្ទាប់ពីលោកបានវិលត្រឡប់ពីកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលអាស៊ាននៅទីក្រុងបាងកកហើយត្រូវបានអ្នកសារព័ត៌មានសួរលោកអំពីពាក្យលេចលឺមកថាលោកចង់ផ្ទេរតំណែងរបស់លោកទៅឲ្យរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីក្រសួងហិរញ្ញវត្ថុគឺលោក Zamin Ali ដែលការនេះនាំឲ្យមានការចោទសួរអំពីការសន្យារបស់លោកអំឡុងយុទ្ធនាការបោះឆ្នោតដែលថាលោកនឹងផ្ទេរតំណែងឲ្យទៅលោកអាន់វ៉ាអ៊ីប្រាហ៊ីមនៅឆ្នាំ2020នេះលោកមហាធីបានបញ្ជាក់ទៀតថាទោះជាមានសំណើខ្លះៗពីសមាជិកសភាមួយចំនួនសូមឲ្យលោករក្សាតំណែងនេះរហូតដល់ការបោះឆ្នោតឆ្នាំ2023គឺលោកមិនអាចរំលោភកិច្ចសន្យារបស់លោកបានឡើយលោកថាលោកនឹងចុះចេញពីតំណែងនេះយ៉ាងពិតប្រាកដហើយផ្ទេរតំណែងរបស់លោកដោយសន្តិវិធីទៅលោកអាន់វ៉ាអ៊ីប្រាហ៊ីមតែលោកថាលោកនឹងផ្ទេរតំណែងនេះនៅពេលណាលោកត្រួសត្រាយផ្លូវសម្រាប់លោកអាន់វ៉ាអ៊ីប្រាហ៊ីមសពគ្រប់សិនលោកថាជាពិសេសលោកត្រូវប្រើអំណាចដើម្បីចាត់ចែងនិងរឹបអូសទ្រព្យសម្បត្តិរបស់មូលនិធិ 1MDB នៅប្រាក់ជិត$700 លានដែលបាត់ទៅដោយសារអំពើពុករលួយសម័យកាលរបស់លោកនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីណៃជីបរ៉ាហ្សាក់យកត្រឡប់ទៅមកវិញលោកមហាធីមូហាម៉ាត់ឆ្នាំនេះលោកមានអាយុ94ឆ្នាំអ្នកនយោបាយជើងចាស់នេះឡើងកាន់អំណាចបន្ទាប់ពីផ្ដួលនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីណៃជីបរ៉ាហ្សាក់នៅក្នុងការបោះឆ្នោតសភាខណៈលោកអាន់វ៉ានៅក្នុងពន្ធនាគារប៉ុន្តែជ័យជំនះរបស់លោកមហាធីកើតឡើងដោយសារលោកបានចាប់ដៃជាមួយនឹងគណៈបករបស់លោកអាន់វ៉ានៅក្នុងបទសម្ភាសន៍ជាមួយ The Star Online លោកមហាធីបានសន្យាថាលោកនឹងចង់កាន់តំណែង2ឆ្នាំកន្លះទៅ3ឆ្នាំហើយនឹងផ្ទេរតំណែងនេះឲ្យទៅលោកអាន់វ៉ាដែលជាអតីតអ្នកទោសនយោបាយនិងជាគូប្រជែងរបស់លោកណាជីបដែលកំពុងមានទោសជាប់នឹងខ្លួនលោកមហាធីធ្លាប់កាន់តំណែងជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីចំនួន20ឆ្នាំកន្លងមកហើយកាលពីទសវត្សរ៍90និង2000លោកឆក់ឱកាសចូលធ្វើនយោបាយឡើងវិញដោយបោះបង់បកចាស់របស់លោកចោលគឺបកអ៊ុំណូព្រោះតែបកនេះដែលស្ថិតនៅក្រោមការដឹកនាំរបស់លោកណាជីបធ្វើឲ្យមានរឿងអាស្រូវយ៉ាងខ្លាំង ចំណែកឯលោកអាន់វ៉ាអ៊ីប្រាហ៊ីមបច្ចុប្បន្នមានអាយុ72ឆ្នាំត្រូវបានលោកមហាធីថ្វាយលិខិតទៅព្រះមហាក្សត្រសូមលើកលែងទោសដែលលោកមានទោសពីបទស្រឡាញ់មនុស្សប្រុសដូចគ្នាប៉ុន្តែករណីនេះគឺជារឿងនយោបាយព្រោះដោយសារតែលោកណាជីបខ្លាចប្រជាប្រិយភាពរបស់លោកអាន់វ៉ាអ៊ីប្រាហ៊ីមហើយក៏ផ្ដើមឲ្យមានការចោទប្រកាន់ជាថ្មីទៀតដើម្បីឲ្យមេបកប្រឆាំងនេះបាត់បង់សិទ្ធិធ្វើនយោបាយលោកអាន់វ៉ាអ៊ីប្រាហ៊ីមនឹងក្លាយជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីហើយលោកណាជីបពេលនេះកំពុងតែប្រែក្លាយខ្លួនទៅជាអ្នកទោសវិញម្ដងក្នុងសំណុំរឿងពុករលួយនេះនាំឲ្យលោកណាជីបអាចមានទោសរហូតដល់ទៅ35ឆ្នាំនេះបើយោងតាមច្បាប់នៃប្រទេសម៉ាឡេស៊ីលោកអាន់វ៉ាអ៊ីប្រាហ៊ីមបានថ្កោលទោសលោកណាជីបយ៉ាងខ្លាំងហើយបានទាមទារឲ្យតុលាការផ្តន្ទាទោសអតីតនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនេះយ៉ាងធ្ងន់ធ្ងរលោកអាន់វ៉ាអ៊ីប្រាហ៊ីមនឹងក្លាយជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីក្នុងអន្តរកាលដែលគូប្រកួតរបស់លោកគឺលោកណាជីបក្លាយជាអ្នកទោសវិញម្ដងលោកអាន់វ៉ាត្រូវបានគេពណ៌នាថាជាអ្នកទោសមនសិការហើយជាជើងឯកខ្លាំងជាងគេខាងប្រជាធិបតេយ្យនៅប្រទេសម៉ាឡេស៊ីបានលោកនាងកំពុងស្ដាប់នឹងទស្សនាកម្មវិធីផ្សាយរបស់សារព័ត៌មាន The Cambodia Daily ជាភាសាខ្មែរតាមបណ្ដាញសង្គម Facebook លោកអ្នកអាចស្វែងរកទំព័រ Facebook របស់យើងតាមអាសយដ្ឋាន www.facebook.com/withoutfearorfavorkh សូមជម្រាបថានេះគឺជាការបើកទំព័រជីវិតទី2របស់សារព័ត៌មាន The Cambodia Daily នៅលើប្រព័ន្ធអ៊ីនធឺណិតដែលយើងនឹងនាំមកជូនលោកអ្នកនាងនៅព័ត៌មានទាន់ហេតុការណ៍សេចក្តីរាយការណ៍លម្អិតបទវិភាគនិងវេទិកាសួរដេញដោលនានាពាក់ព័ន្ធនឹងស្ថានភាពនយោបាយសេដ្ឋកិច្ចយោធាសិល្បៈវប្បធម៌ការអប់រំកីឡានិងសុខុមាលភាពនិងកម្មវិធីផ្សេងៗជាច្រើនទៀតសូមជម្រាបថាសារព័ត៌មាន The Cambodia Daily ជាសារព័ត៌មានឯករាជ្យដែលបម្រើនិងដើរតាមបន្ទាត់មាគ៌ាវិជ្ជាជីវៈសារព័ត៌មាននិយាយការពិតឥតភ័យខ្លាចឥតអនុគ្រោះក្នុងទិសដៅធ្វើវិភាគទានផ្ដល់យុត្តិធម៌សង្គមមិនស្ថិតក្រោមឥទ្ធិពលបកក្រុមឬពួកណាមួយនោះឡើយបាទលោកនាងជាទីមេត្រីនៅពេលនេះយើងបានមកដល់កម្មវិធី Idea Talk តាមការគ្រោងទុកបាទលោកនាងជាទីមេត្រីយើងខ្ញុំសូមស្វាគមន៍លោកនាងមកកាន់កម្មវិធី Idea Talk របស់សារព័ត៌មាន The Cambodia Daily នារាត្រីនេះដែលវាគ្មិនរបស់យើងគឺលោកមេធាវី Mark Morstein ជាមេធាវីក្រុមហ៊ុនRFA Khmer ក្នុងរដ្ឋ Virginia សហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកយើងនឹងពិភាក្សាលើប្រធានបទថាតើច្បាប់អន្តរជាតិណាខ្លះដែលអាចប្រើទៅលើរដ្ឋាភិបាលលោកហ៊ុនសែនប្រសិនបើមានការបង្ហូរឈាមនៅថ្ងៃទី9វិច្ឆិកាខាងស្អែកនេះប្រសិនបើលោកនាងមានសំណួរឬយោបល់សូមសរសេរនៅក្នុងប្រអប់ comment ខាងក្រោមនៃការផ្សាយរបស់យើងតាមអាសយដ្ឋាន www.facebook.com/withoutfearorfavorkh ខ្ញុំសូមជម្រាបសួរលោកមេធាវី Mark Morstein. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Mark Morstein.
Good morning. How are you?
It's a pleasure to see you again, and we thank you very much for coming to our studio today.
Glad to be back.
Just for our listeners and viewers, Attorney Mark Morstein, who specializes in various areas and on legal issues such as land use and land appropriation laws. He led a campaign to help the Khmer victims of land eviction in the sugar plantation in Cambodia, in southern province of Kokong and Kampong Speu by suing a British sugar importer, Tate and Lyle, in British High Court in 2012 and 2013. Well, at present, Cambodians overseas and inside Cambodia, Attorney Morstein, are anxious to welcome the opposition leader Sam Rainsy, the acting president of the Cambodian National Rescue Party, in short CNRP, who declared that he will return to his native land on November 9 by way of Thailand. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are expected to greet him if he sets foot on the Khmer-Thai border. Hun Sen declared he will order the armed forces under his command to crush any movement by the opposition in an attempt, as he asserts, to overthrow his self-declared legitimate government. He has deployed armed security forces and placed them on standby, on alert to confront the opposition that mobilizes the masses to accompany Mr. Sam Rainsy to Phnom Penh. Heavily armed forces are ready to execute commands from their superiors. My question now is that and perhaps the question in the minds of many people is that are there any international law mechanism or treaties in place to protect and hold Hun Sen directly responsible if he orders the murder of Cambodian civilians who accompanied Mr. Sam Rainsy on November 9?
I think the short answer is clearly yes. There are a number. The International Criminal Court, for example, has jurisdiction over crimes against humanity. I want to say something I think that's very important, because I think the history of Cambodia is essential here. The Paris Peace Accords of 1991 were established by not only the 5 permanent members of the United Nations, but a number of guarantors. And during that peace treaty, there was a requirement for fair and free elections. That was to become a part of the Cambodian constitution.
Yeah.
And that meant that political parties and the right to assembly were protected, and not only protected by the Cambodian government, but by the guarantors of the Paris peace agreements. The Cambodian constitution is very clear about the right of people to form political parties, and that includes the CNRP. There is a right to protest. There is a right to dissent. Those rights are not something that are should be controlled by the party in power. These are rights that adhere to every single person that's in Cambodia, that's a citizen of Cambodia. So the short answer is that because the law of Cambodia protects the CNRP, and because Sam Rainsy is a member and the leader, essentially the leader,
opposition
leader, he absolutely has the right to come back to his country. There's also a provision, by the way, in the Constitution itself that there's no compulsory exile of citizens. So the question is whether Sam Rainsy is under a compulsory exile or not. But he clearly chooses to come back. If he chooses to come back, he has the right to come back. In a fair and free election, there is always the assumption that there can be a winner in the election and a loser in the election. This is the normal way that there is a transition of power from the existing government to a new government. So, short answer is that you look at the local law first. Yeah. Under the local law, there is an absolute right of Sam Rainsy to come back into his country, to lead the CNRP, and to participate in an election. Now, under international law, under the the International Criminal Courts and Crimes Against Humanity, this goes back to the Rome Treaty of 2002. Yeah. In that treaty, there was the protection against oppression of political parties and people for exercising their rights as under the politics. So the answer is that it could be if the approach by Hun Sen against the CNRP, by Sam Rainsy, by Musakua, is in some way systematic. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is just what I went into. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We love to hear from a legal definition. So last week, Sam Rainsy's counsel, Richard Rogers, who filed criminal charges against Hun Sen and his lieutenant for crimes against humanity before the International Criminal Court, ICC. He was interviewed on Radio Free Asia, saying, and I quote, "If Hun Sen's armed forces dare to shoot at and crack down on civilians who accompany the Supreme Court dissolved CNRP officials, it would be a crime tantamount to crimes against humanity." What is your view on this statement?
I completely agree with him. I think there's no question about that. I don't believe that Hun Sen would be that audacious and take that type of risk in the international community. The international community, as it stands right now, is very suspicious of Hun Sen's actions because of his shutting down, essentially, of the CNRP. Yeah. If he then orders his troops to shoot at nonviolent protests of people who are exercising their rights under Cambodian law, I think he could very easily face a criminal prosecution.
Yeah. You mentioned the word compulsion. From a legal definition, does Sam Rainsy have to prove he was under compulsion to leave the country, or to be in exile, or?
Well, what the Constitution says is that there will not be any exile, that the government can't force anybody into exile. So the question is whether a party has voluntarily left the country and declared that they are in self-imposed exile or whether they've been forced out by the government itself. If there is no crime that's committed, certainly Hun Sen can't force anybody into exile. So Sam Rainsy
they use the court system to force them, to try to harass them and arrest them.
I think this goes back to the prosecution of Khem Sokha, which I think anybody in the international community that was watching that particular prosecution recognized that it was a completely made-up prosecution. If somebody's advocating as a candidate under a fair and free election for his particular party, which is entitled to seek power, then certainly there's nothing that's illegal about that. So to say that that's tantamount to rebellion because they're simply choosing to peacefully change the leadership of the government is to deny democracy altogether. So the short answer again is that in terms of compulsion, if the government itself makes conditions for a situation where Sam Rainsy is in physical danger by being in the country and he leaves, that is tantamount to an exile, a compulsory exile, and that's illegal under constitutional requirements and also under international law.
Yeah. So if we go back a little bit, the government somehow wants to dissolve the opposition party known as CNRP by going through this, government control parliamentary system, and they voted the CNRP out, taking all the seats the CNRP, the opposition party, gained in the previous election with 55 seats, and then threatened to arrest if any one of them is engaging in political activity. So all of them, at least 118 altogether from the CNRP top leadership and middle rank leadership, have to flee the country. I don't know if that is considered compulsion, because they can't stay in Cambodia under that tense political atmosphere.
I would completely agree. I mean, essentially, if the government takes the position that you can stay, but if you stay, you're going to end up in jail.
Right.
That doesn't sound like very, it sounds like essentially there's an invitation for somebody to leave or to be thrown into jail or to have some types of violence perpetrated against them.
Right. Recently, and up to today, the government of Cambodia, Hun Sen government, has sent diplomatic cables to all the ASEAN member states to hand over, or repatriate, or what you call extradite any CNRP officials if they happen to be in any of those cities, ASEAN capital cities. And we have learned that Mu Sok Hu, vice president of the CNRP, was denied entry into Thailand sometime a few weeks ago, and now in Malaysia she was detained and tried to deport her to a third country, to somewhere, after she flew in from Indonesia, Jakarta. Now, knowing that Mu Sok Hu, perhaps other people as well, have done nothing wrong legally against any countries, even their own native countries, Cambodia, besides voicing, restoring freedom, and human rights, respect and democracy and things like that. Now, for these ASEAN capital cities and authorities to detain a person who commits no wrong, no crime, does it look all right? I mean, from the international.
Well, this is going to take a second to explain.
Yeah, please.
But years ago, there was the creation of Interpol. The concept was that police organizations, essentially countries themselves, would recognize it as an act of comity, comity, not comedy, something of comedy, would recognize the laws of the particular sovereign state and basically cooperate in extradition. The Constitution of Cambodia has a very specific provision that there will be no extradition of a party unless there's an extradition treaty. If you remember, there were some issues with Russia in terms of asking for political prisoners, political opponents, to be extradited back to Russia. Bill Browder is one notable person. What's been recognized is that even in those particular provisions under Interpol, the requirements with regard to political oppression, those provide an exemption from any type of extradition. Most countries will recognize that, and in fact refuse to extradite a party who is simply being returned because of because of some political oppression. I think the case with Musakua is very clear that this is totally political oppression, and has nothing to do with any commitment of any crime at all. So I do believe that Malaysia has the right to refuse any type of extradition on that basis.
Now, speaking of Interpol, does Interpol take any cases presented by the government regardless?
No.
It has to be like proven crimes was committed.
Well, there's a good bit of discretion.
And the person kind of becomes fugitive, run away from the law.
Right. But those, the purpose of Interpol was not for political crimes or political oppression, or it was done primarily for crimes, murder, rape, theft, financial crimes. Politics are the ones that Interpol was always concerned with. So generally the countries that have apprehended there's what's known as a red notice that's sent out. And the country that receives the red notice, or any country that has the red notice, is supposed to be on the lookout. But those can be contested, and they usually are contested if they are political opponents. And no country has the obligation to extradite somebody to a host country if the primary purpose is for some type of political opposition. So the answer is no, they do not have the obligation. And simply because they get a red notice does not mean that they are automatically required to comply with that.
Okay. Well, thank you for that explanation. I just want to apologize to our listeners and viewers a little bit that we speak in English instead of Khmer today.
My Khmer is not very good.
Right. ខ្ញុំសូមលោកអ្នកនាងមានស្ដាប់នឹងទស្សនាកម្មវិធីមេតាអធិស្ឋានដោយសារថាពេលវេលាយើងខ្លីយើងមិនមានពេលនឹងបកប្រែជាភាសាខ្មែរក៏ប៉ុន្តែមានពេលខ្លះយើងត្រូវការអ្នកជំនាញខាងបរទេសមកជជែកអំពីច្បាប់ទម្លាប់ថាតើច្បាប់ត្រង់ណាខ្លះដែលអាចប្រើប្រាស់នៅលើឆាកអន្តរជាតិក្រៅពីច្បាប់ប្រទេសមួយបាទហើយយើងសូមអធិស្ឋានដោយយើងមិនមានពេលគ្រប់គ្រាន់បាទហើយជាការចាំបាច់ដែលយើងត្រូវការចែករំលែកបញ្ហាខ្មែរឲ្យបរទេសបានដឹងបានឮបានយល់ខ្លះផងបាទ My question next question. The Hun Sen government claims it has the right and authority to maintain law and order, peace and stability to sustain national development. It calls the opposition an outlawed group, a rebel group plotting to overthrow the government. It regards the opposition CNRP officials as convicts and fugitives wanted by Phnom Penh because they are banned from political activities after the party was dissolved in 2017. It also cites the opposition leader called the people of all walks of life to rise up against the government that doesn't serve the people's interest. Thus calling on the armed forces to mutiny, the masses to rise up, to demand their basic rights and freedoms, constitute high crimes and treason?
Well, I think you're getting into an area now where in terms of local law, there is somewhat of a difference in terms of what's required. Peaceful protest is completely and totally allowed.
It's guaranteed under the Constitution.
Correct. Violent protest, danger, and so forth is not guaranteed under the Cambodian Constitution. So advocating for revolution itself could be considered to be a crime. However, could be considered to be a crime, but it isn't really the advocation of it. It's really the act of committing it. It raises a number of questions because historically the question is whether the institutions themselves inside Cambodia are capable of making a change, or whether there is some type of revolutionary requirement in terms of making changes inside Cambodia. And revolution doesn't necessarily have to be violent.
Right.
Revolution can be an election.
Yeah.
It can be a change of government is a very quick change. The only difference between evolution and revolution, theoretically, is the speed.
Yeah.
So the short answer again is that if in fact there is the request for a rising up, it is possible to argue that if there are events of violence, those would be could be addressed. But the rest, I think, of Hun Sen's accusations with regard to a party being illegal simply because they're exercising their rights actually shows that it's illegal on the part of Hun Sen.
Right. Yeah, well, sometimes violence happens, and we have seen around the world. If we can't change the corrupt government in power by election, the people are fed up. Enough is enough, and they rise up. So how can we stop them?
Well, it raises a good question, and this is something that I've been interested in, quite frankly, for a long time. Historically, it's the difference between evolution and revolution.
Yeah.
And historically, I mean, there are a number of quotes. There's Kennedy's quote about those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable.
Yeah.
And I think the recognition is that if institutions are not permitted to work to make changes in a democratic fashion, there is a choice that people have to take.
Yeah.
And that choice is whether they have to use some type of violence in order to make that change, in order to restore democracy. But the question, it can become a very slippery slope in terms of where that violence goes and who advocates it and how it's done and so forth. And it is very dangerous on that. My own belief on this, and this is really more of a political belief, is that the institutions should be exhausted before people turn to revolution.
Right.
But it seems to me that embedded in the Declaration of Independence, the American Declaration of Independence, is the
we did go to war.
Is the recognition that if governments are not responsive to the people, there is the right of the people to overthrow that government and to institute a new democratic power. So I would say really under the circumstances, there has to be a view towards seeing whether what is going on in Cambodia right now is really an attempt to create a one-party system, an authoritarian system, and one that's unconstitutional. And quite frankly, the actions that Hun Sen has taken over the last 3 or 4 years, ever since the khem sokha, is that he is really acting as a renegade in terms of his own constitution.
Yeah. Well, we just got a breaking news that Thai Airways Airlines has refused Mr. Samrangsi, the opposition leader, to board on his way, even though he purchased the ticket. Can you tell us what is the international aviation law cover? Do you have any idea?
Well, remember that the airlines themselves are generally private entities, and I don't know whether Thai Airline, the Thai Airlines are government operated or whether they're under the operation of the government, but it becomes somewhat of foreign policy.
Yeah.
And it may be that what's happening is that Thailand is simply bowing to the request of Cambodia. There's a certain amount of discretion in this as well. Obviously, if an airline refuses to allow somebody to board, it may be because of its own national interest, and there's a certain amount of respect in that in international law with regard to the sovereignty of that country.
Yeah.
Do I think it's right? No. But do I think that it's legal? I think it probably is.
So Samrangsi may be able to file for some sort of compensation, or
well, I don't know. I mean, if he's been promised a ticket and he has a ticket, and this brings it back down to a much more local level in terms of a claim. Obviously, if he has a ticket and Thai Airlines refuses to do it, he's certainly entitled to some damages for the cost of his ticket and so forth.
Okay, then we have a change in the news we just got, and Thai Airways says Mr. Rangsi did not book the flight, so we don't know what to say. We'll find out later.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to get back to our country here, the United States,
Right.
Our country, as one of donor countries, what can the U.S. do to mitigate the political tension in Cambodia?
Well, it can do a lot if it chooses to do so.
Yeah.
But
If
Cambodia,
it chooses to do so, yeah.
I think that's really the issue.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some bills that are going through Congress right now that that are encouraging the United States to step in and to review what's going on in those particular countries. You also have the ASEAN. We're a member. The United States is a member of the ASEAN group and has a certain amount of influence. But there's a lot of geopolitics that are now involved in that particular area. You have have China that's very, very active in terms of its protection of Cambodia. I believe that Cambodia is making a major mistake in terms of again putting all its eggs in the one basket of the Chinese.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that Hun Sen has shown much wisdom so far, and I'm not really expecting that he's going to show much more in terms of his approach. There will be a day of reckoning, I believe, with regard to all of this, and I think I would strongly encourage the government of Cambodia to open up the government again to the CNRP, and I think the United States could certainly apply sanctions. They could certainly seek to have EU sanctions. EBA could be totally eliminated and so forth.
And another question before we go. I've been frustrated all along. We've heard over and over what people here say that is certain situations in the world are not in America's best interest, and that we cannot police the world. But we also see America gets involved in other parts of the world. Can you say where America really stands in the world, and how can we hold our moral high ground if we talk about promoting democracy, respect for human rights, freedom, and the rule of law, but fail to do anything when oppression takes place? For example, in Cambodia.
I think that's the major question right now. I think the issue under the Trump administration is really puts the focus on that. If the United States is taking a America First approach, which means the rest of the world be damned, and we only care about what we're dealing with on a sort of realpolitik approach. The old Kissinger approach that says we don't really care what goes on the globe, except as we need to create alliances and so forth. I think we have a problem. I think
anything that affects our national interest directly.
Correct. I think the issue has to be is the question of whether there is a balance between the sovereignty of a particular nation and the sort of the communal alliances and sovereignty that creates security and freedom throughout the world. There's a reason that we haven't had another world war, and that one of those has to do with the fact that we generated NATO. NATO created an alliance with the countries that were at war with each other about every 20 or 30 years for probably the last 300 years. And that eliminated that. And so a flashpoint was eliminated. Southeast Asia has been a flashpoint for years, and ASEAN has helped that to a large extent. There has to be that goal of recognizing that the law has to, as I've said before, there are two pieces to the law. One is the law, and the second one is the enforcement of the law. If there's no enforcement, the law doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything. Okay, just one more question. From the Rome Statute of 2002, and I believe, I don't know if Cambodia is a signatory to that. It is. Now, it seems to us, to everybody, Cambodia doesn't care much about that. So it does, whatever it feels fit to do, and under the government of Hun Sen. Now, is there anything that the people? It seems to me that the government, the 9 other countries in ASEAN, the grouping, doesn't want to get involved, and they always talk about internal affairs of another country. They don't want to get involved. Okay, now, what can the Cambodian people outside and inside the country do? Do they have any venue, or do they have any a way to seek justice?
Well, it's a general question in terms of what's there. I think the land grabbing issue that I was involved in, I think, is a good example of things that can be done. There are implications of the law that apply not just to Cambodia but to other nations. For example, rubber trees, the rubber, or in the case of sugar, that where you have a product that leaves, or you have potential slavery, potential slavery in terms of fishing, or things of that nature, which have the effect. The main thing that generates other countries' involvement is whether there's a touch on their jurisdiction. In other words, is there an effect on the lands or the powers of another country, which really induces them to step in and take a look. There's a reason that the United Nations exists. There's action in the United Nations that can occur. There are courts that can turn some of this stuff into commercial law issues. There are human rights courts. There's the International Criminal Court. There are effects that you have with publicity. So there are a number of things, but it is not one size fits all.
Right.
It's something that has to be tailored to the issues that are taken up. But primarily, it has to be something that the Cambodian people, undertake, whether inside Cambodia or outside.
Yeah, we have seen, we have known that some Chinese companies building casinos, hotels, sometimes wrongfully on some parcel of land.
Right.
Do you think the Cambodian people can bring a suit under international law somewhere to sue these companies, Chinese companies, or anyone's companies that violate Cambodian law or affect the livelihood, the environment of the people, local people?
That would be something to look into. It's not out of the question. It could be. It depends on whether the Chinese companies violate Cambodian law, and it also depends on what courts have jurisdiction. Right. The general principle in international law is you always look to the local law and the enforcement of the local law in the local courts. So the question would be, is there the ability in the local courts to handle something? For example, let's say there's, I use this as an example, let's say there's pollution as a result.
Right.
And it's abusive in some way. Are there laws in Cambodia that would cover that? But let's use pollution again. Sometimes the pollution itself can spread to other countries.
Right.
It could spread to Vietnam. It could spread to Thailand. It could spread somewhere else.
Yeah.
Based on that, other countries might have the ability to raise those issues, and it's possible for Cambodian citizens to actually ask for, and in some cases, generate jurisdiction in those standing, is really what it's called, in those countries to bring an action for the pollution. China itself doesn't really have a free court system, so it's virtually impossible there. But those are the kinds of things that require the analysis of lawyers to make a determination of whether there is an issue.
Yes, a case in point, we have a criminal charge filed in the ICC by Counsel Richard Rogers for land grabbing. So I don't know if another violation of the law in Cambodia, like for example environmental law. Again, land laws, land grabbing, of course, is one thing. But another thing is that they turn that land into some commercial, interest. I wonder if there is a court somewhere.
Well, there are some provisions under crimes against humanities. It's a new area of law that's developing now of economic crimes, and it could be held under that. The law is very dynamic. That's one thing I want to point out. The law changes depending on the political events, technical events, historical events, new laws that come out, and a lot of this is untested. So is it possible that an economic crime could be generated? The answer is yes. But has it been done, as far as I know, on something like that? I do not believe it has yet, that I'm aware of anyway.
Well, we have to find a question from one of our listeners and viewers.
Okay.
Yeah, but sorry if we couldn't get to him. Do we take Hun Sen regime to the International Court of Law without Hun Sen holding his own people hostage? Can that happen?
That's a very good question, actually, because there's a requirement under the procedures of the International Court. The term is called complementarianism.
Okay.
What it means is that the local country has to first investigate and make an effort to resolve a particular issue.
Yes.
The catch-22, of course, is that it's usually the very government that's causing the problem that is expected to investigate itself.
Yeah.
which doesn't happen very often.
Right.
So the question is can the people circumvent Hun Sen and go directly to the criminal court? The answer is yes.
Okay.
But there has to be a referral, and there has to be a reference to it, and that either has to come from the government or another government in order to do that.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons, by the way, that there haven't been war crimes in Syria, because there are certain countries that can veto.
Yeah.
They can veto the action if it's brought up as a referral, say through the United Nations, which also has the ability to refer it.
Yeah.
So there has to be a country that does that, and
Yeah.
so the people have to find a sponsor
Right.
in order to do that. And obviously, Hun Sen is not going to be the sponsor of a criminal action against himself.
Right. Sure. Okay. Now, can you briefly touch on the definition of tort law? Can any victims, for example, in Cambodia, who suffered under the Hun Sen regime, file a complaint here if they manage to get out of the country?
Well, tort law is basically a wrong against a person, like an injury. The easiest one to understand is if you have a car accident and you run into somebody else, you're sued for the wrong that occurs.
Yeah.
The general principle in international law, and it's lex locus delicti, which means simply it's the law of the place of the wrong, and the venue itself is generally preferred in those particular countries. So the question is, could somebody sue somebody for a harm that was done inside Cambodia by Hun Sen? The answer is generally not, but there has to be, again, an international component to that.
Yeah.
And if there is an international component, for example, if the action occurred to, let's say, an American citizen.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not quite sure of Musakua's nationality, but I believe she holds joint nationality. I think she's both.
She's a U.S. citizen.
She's also a U.S. citizen. If something happened to her, the United States would have the ability, and citizens in the United States, including Musakua, would have the right to bring an action in the United States. And there's also law in the United States that generally the courts don't like with regard to certain actions that have taken place with regard to other countries. But it's not widely used. The courts don't like it. But I think if something happens to Musakua, because she is an American citizen, I think you will see tremendous repercussion, not just in Cambodia, but also in the United States.
I just remembered a couple of cases way back in the 80s, late 80s and early 90s probably, when victims from the Tiananmen Square in China, who arrived here in the U.S. and became permanent residents, and they filed a complaint against the Chinese premier for ordering, the massacre, and also the people from Zimbabwe.
Right.
And then when they filed a complaint, they take the case to court. The court ruled in favor of the victim.
Right.
And the court somehow connect or link to aid, telling the State Department to withhold some aid to that country.
Right. Well,
and use that fund for the victims.
Right. There's a principle in international law that's called standing. You have to have jurisdiction.
Yeah.
In other words, the court has to have jurisdiction, and there are provisions under American law that do grant complainants of other countries certain types of jurisdictions for crimes against humanity, for terrorism, for things of that nature. The second part is you have to have standing.
Yeah.
The person who is harmed has to have a stake in the outcome. In other words, they have to be the one that's injured.
Yeah.
So it's attenuated if somebody is very far removed from that. But again, you have to look at those particular cases, and that's where the creativity of the law, the creativity of the attorneys, the creativity of facts have to be analyzed to see if there is a case.
Yes.
And it has to be brought in the right courts.
Well,
is it possible? The answer is yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mark Morstein, attorney for Offutt and Kerman in Virginia. Thank you so much for coming here. And as always, we appreciate your time and expertise and knowledge. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very
so
much. Sure.
Hope to see you again.
Okay.